Hi, I'm Jess, part-time hobbit, and I'm here to talk to you about Tolkien. And myself. And plants. This one's kind of like a catch-all, guys, I'm sorry. I feel the need to apologize preemptively for my setup. My focus might be a little messy, and I may disappear a little bit on my white kitchen, surfaces. So I'm here today to celebrate a recent milestone that we just hit, which is 150 subscribers on YouTube, which is really, really cool. And I'm very excited. I figured as a little celebration, we'll just have a more relaxed video this week. I guess it's more of a celebration for me than you guys. Repotting a little tiny herb garden. I would really love to do some gardening videos, but if you couldn't tell from my filming location, I don't have a lot of access to outdoor space in my current living situation. I don't really know if I'm qualified to give you guys gardening tips, because I've killed less houseplants than some people. I've killed a lot of plants too, so we'll see if these ones make it. But for now, you're gonna get a chaotic video of me answering your questions from Instagram while I pot some herbs to make myself a little garden. These questions are all from you guys from my Instagram story. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go ahead and hop over there. That's kind of easier for me to talk to you guys one-on-one. So we're gonna start, I think, on my little mint plant, because I'm kind of less scared of that one. He's cute, isn't he? Let's answer our first question before I get my hands dirty. My Hogwarts house. Okay. I think when I was like 7. It was like 7 to 10 years old. I marathoned them all in one singular night. I have this bin of rocks that I just gathered from my parking lot like a goblin. Yeah, so I'm a bit of a Gryffindor myself, for better or for worse. I am a Enneagram type 4, if that means anything to you guys, which is kind of the tends to be a bit self-important and main character-y. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a Gryffindor. Tolkien food I really want to try. There's a couple of things here that I could talk about, of course, because you know how I feel about food. So there's a couple of recipes that I'm planning on making videos for especially, and one of those is from Farmer Giles of Ham, and that is the faux dragon's tail. So if you don't know anything about Farmer Giles, there is a king in it, and they discuss that at this king's, I believe, Christmas feast, he has every year a dragon tail, and it used to be the tail of a live dragon, and it would be a whole thing of who's bringing the dragon tail this year, kind of like a potluck. Eventually they kind of phased out the actual dragon tail and switched to a cake dragon tail, and he describes it in pretty good detail with almond paste and sugar scales and stuff. My thought is that for another milestone video, maybe 1,000 if we get there, we'll do a remaking of that particular cake, the faux dragon tail, because I think that would be a mess and a lot of fun. I also really want to do Bilbo's birthday cake. If I could try one food from actually from Middle Earth, it would probably be the Ent draft, so that I could get taller and be tall enough to play an elf in the Lord of the Rings TV series. I need a watering can. I didn't prepare for this. Herbs are probably the thing I'm most comfortable growing. Growing up, we each had a garden, an area of the garden that we were kind of responsible for and responsible for helping our dad for. And my area was always the herb garden. So we had this lovely little thyme plant. Why YouTube? I've wanted to talk about Lord of the Rings and have an opportunity to talk about Lord of the Rings for a while, especially because it's something that I do already, whether or not people want me to. I really like the format of YouTube because I've been trained in performance art acting. When I'm sitting in front of the camera and reading out an essay that I wrote, I get to determine the tone of how things are said, and I really get to be kind of the storyteller in that regard. Herbs need a very well-draining soil because most of them are Mediterranean plants. This feels like a pretty dense soil that they're in, and they're also really saturated. I am kind of knocking away some of that extra soil before I put it into the new soil just to make sure that it's gonna the roots are all gonna grow out and extend and become a beautiful plant. Do you have any other guests planned? So I don't have any guests planned outside of Dylan. I would love to have more guests, especially because I'm not an expert in every field, believe it or not. It would be nice if I could have some people that know what they're talking about different stuff, be it gardening or sewing, that kind of thing. So I'm very open to collab with anyone on here, but also particularly anyone that knows me in real life. If you have something that you'd like to talk about on this channel, I'd be happy to have you on. I don't have any different guests planned, but I am totally open, so hit me up if you know me. Favorite non-Tolkien fantasy? My favorite right now is probably Discworld, Terry Pratchett. I really like how different of an approach it is to the genre. It's a much less serious approach to things. My favorite is Tiffany Aching. I haven't read all of Discworld yet, but the Tiffany Aching books are my favorite. Probably I Shall Wear Midnight. I just found out that they are making entirely new audiobooks for Discworld, which is super duper exciting because that's how I have been reading it thus far. And that means I can read a lot more, and it's like a super star-studded cast, including Andy Serkis, so I'll link that video because it's very exciting. Would you recommend starting with the books or the movies? This is definitely a case-by-case basis because for most people, especially modern audiences, especially young people, I probably would recommend starting with the movies just because if you can get someone to fall in love with Middle-earth, it's easier to do it through movies because the books are dense. However, there are certain people like my mother who doesn't like action movies and only likes the classics, shout out to you, Mom, that I would definitely advise that there are certain cases that I would say, you know, start with the books then, because if you already like reading the classics, if you are more of a kind of academically minded person and that stuff really interests you, then, you know, go ahead and start with the books. But if you're starting totally from scratch, the movies are a really great place to go, and honestly, don't sue me, Tolkien Estate, but the theatrical cuts aren't that bad. Do what you need to do to get started on Tolkien, and then once you're hooked, it's a lot easier to kind of fall down that wormhole. Any Tolkien favorites outside of Lord of the Rings? Yes. I definitely say that The Lay of Leithian, The Tale of Beren and Luthien it's one of the things outside of just the movies and the existing like childhood love that I had of Lord of the Rings that really caught my attention. That's a really relatable, well, not relatable, I don't typically sing for the Dark Lords, but a very beautiful story. That was kind of my introduction to like exploring things outside of just the base legendarium. What equipment do I use? It's pretty much like the cheapest stuff you can find on Amazon. I'll put screenshots of everything around me right now, and then I'll link it in the description. I do just film on my phone, which is a Galaxy A42, I think. I'd like to get a legitimate camera at some point. I also just got a new tripod. My old tripod, I'll put a picture in, is held together by a duct tape and pencil and recently totally broke. In the arms of the angel. If you could ask Tolkien one thing, what would it be? Where are the Entwives? When is Dylan gonna cameo again? So you guys really liked him, which, you know, which is good because I think he's funny. And we are planning on doing more videos. We've talked a lot about doing reaction videos, especially to other non-Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings content, such as the Ralph Bakshi versions, which Dylan is a really huge fan of Ralph Bakshi, and I am not. So that'll be fun. We also might do reacting to the Russian TV version of Lord of the Rings, which is, from what I've seen thus far, buck wild.
Взгляд.
There's dirt everywhere. If you guys have anything you want Dylan or me to react to, feel free to send it my way. Our last plant today is this little basil plant who reminds me of the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. In my defense, this was the healthiest one they had. This one is going to be called Alexander 2. He had a plant, he was basil, he was named Alexander, and he's dead now. That was morbid. My favorite character slash costume design. My very heart says Arwen because she was like, she was my beauty icon. She was my everything. Her costume design has probably been the most like lasting one on me, like impression wise has been the most lasting for me. Also am kind of in love with Éowyn's costumes because of the amount of like historical detail put into them, and it's like pseudo historical. It's all of the ladies is, oh, this smells so good. It just smells like dirt. I don't really know what I was expecting. But I can't just say every female character in The Lord of the Rings. I think that my favorite costume design would definitely be Arwen, because she has a lot of range, a lot of variety. Like that lime green dress at the end of Return of the King. Come on! I could never wear it. I'd blind you like the sun. What character do you relate most to? I'd say probably Pippin, and I know that doesn't like bode well for me personally. In terms of my family anyway, I'm kind of the wild child. I make a lot of mistakes and stuff, but I also think, in my opinion, that I go about it pretty earnestly. Okay, what am I gonna do with all this dirt? I've got too much dirt. So I'm gonna brush these guys off and inundate them with a bit of water and see where our gaps in the soil are. I know you can't really see that from there, but I like gardening like this in a pot. Like, it's better than not, and I like getting to see my little plants grow. But I think there is something to be said for the way that gardening connects you to the earth, and you know, going outside on a sunny day and feeling how warm it is under your feet, that kind of romanticization that really my jam, that you don't quite get unless you want to take off your socks and step in your houseplant. Hopefully I will be somewhere eventually where I can truly garden. Here's hoping. I might post an update on these guys. That'll only be if they make it. So if you don't see anything from these plants after this, you can be pretty assured that they didn't make it. Well, that, I suppose, brings us to the end here. Kind of went by faster than I was expecting. I'm gonna go wash my hands and then clean the dirt off my kitchen floor. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you all so much for subscribing to this channel. It's really cool that we can all hang out here, and I'd love to hear what some of you guys have to say to these questions in the comments, you know? Did you start with the books or movies? What's your favorite fantasy story right now? And what character do you relate most to? So let me know in the comments if you'd like. And speaking of likes, make sure that you give this video a like, because it helps me on the algorithm. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope that you all have a very happy, hobbity day. Okay, there's a lot of dirt on me.